Hello and welcome back to the Special Needs Mom podcast workshop week. Today, the episode number 118 is called the How Are You one-liner. I'm really excited about this. It's going to be a super simple episode and designed so that you can take this into any potential gatherings you're going to have in the next literally couple days and season. And before we get into the meat of the episode, I want to make sure you haven't missed the opportunity to join what I'm calling the Unchallenge. Clearly, it's designed to take the challenge out of this holiday season and really have us bring some intention about having it go a little bit differently in terms of the typical stress and overwhelm that comes during this season. Definitely want to see you over there. I can't wait to have you part of this community where you are engaging in this conversation. So go ahead and click on the show notes. You'll find the link to join. It's very easy. And did I mention it's free? Okay, let's look at this dreaded question. The how are you question, or an alternate version is, how is your child? Do you hate that question or is it just me? So some options are, do you lie through your teeth and say, oh, I'm great, or he is great? So, let's just be real here. My son in the last year has had 2 brain surgeries and 30 rounds of radiation. He's not great. We know this, right? And so it's really hard to answer that question with any sort of authenticity or integrity, or what feels like integrity. Okay. But saying the truth and saying all of that feels like it might be a bit much and not what social norms would have us do. So how do we answer this question, both for ourselves and for when people inquire about our child? And as we all know, like I mentioned, there's a lot of cultural norms that this question isn't really designed in some cases to be answered. Right? It's like someone says, how are you? And then there's really not an expectation that you really even kind of answer. Like the expectation is that you say, good, thanks, how are you? Right? And I know, and I mentioned it on the show before, I have a really hard time with that because I think connection for me is the most important thing. And I feel like by not actually engaging with that, it's like I don't know how to connect with people if it feels like I'm just robotically answering these questions. So what do we do instead of just doing what people think we should? Firstly, I want to credit my friend Daniel DeFabio for this genius, what I'll call formula. It's genuine and it allows for further inquiry, but also it's complete on its own. So I love it because it's both an opening and a closing all at the same time. So here it is. Here's your formula. When someone asks, how are you? You can say, I am good, or whatever words you would use to describe how you are. And good means however you would describe it. I'll give you an example. I am good. So would be my answer. I am good. And good means I've been able to be back at work full time. In the last few months, we have been more stable than we have in the whole last year. So do you see how that for me feels like very genuine, authentic? It's actually sharing my life, which is really important to me, but it doesn't feel complicated. It feels very simple. And if it's appropriate and that person wants to, they can further inquire. They can say, tell me more about that. And I can if I want to, but I don't have to. Okay. So you can also say, I'm okay. And that means we've had a really hard past couple months. Or whatever words you would describe, okay? So same thing. Let's use this, turning it on, using my child as an example. Someone says, oh, hey, how's Levi? He's good. And good means we're stable, the treatments are on track, and we're slowly rebuilding. Oh my gosh. Even as I say that, I'm like, that feels so simple. And it for me, the idea of just saying he's good, that just has so much lacking for me. Because I'm like, he's, like I said earlier in this episode, he's not great. right? Like, look at what happened. Like, how would you be great after all this? And so it just is so helpful. It takes confusion out of the picture for us, and that feels good. So now it's your turn. I want you to take a minute to come up with your one-liners. Do one for yourself, one for your child, and perhaps one for your family. One line that feels authentic, easy, and allows further conversation if that feels good for you. If you're like, I actually don't want to talk about it, perhaps you craft your one-liner to just be very complete. And then you have also a second liner saying, I'm not ready to talk about that yet, if they do ask, right? So here's the formula again. I am blank, and blank means. Okay? So you can put any words in there that you want to, and it doesn't have to be good, right? You do not have to answer that you are good if you do not feel like that is the right answer for you. That is our episode for today. And I want to invite you, if this was helpful, tell your friends. Nice friends tell friends about the one-liner. They will thank you, and so will I. We'll see you tomorrow on the big day. That's Thanksgiving Day if you're listening to these in order. And we'll be talking about not just gratitude, because yes, I did have to put it, I didn't have to, but I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm doing it. It's Thanksgiving. We're talking about gratitude, but we're also talking about grief. We're not just skipping over the grief part, because grief, interestingly enough, is foundational to access gratitude. And if you're rolling your eyes right now thinking, I don't want to hear it, Kara, I don't want to, they're going to make me. This episode will be for you. We'll see you over there. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention to go over, a little reminder to go over and check out the Unchallenge. If you haven't already, sign up and again, tell your friends about it. Bring them in too. Now we'll see you in the next episode.